All right. If you have been with us a little bit, you know that I enjoyed the education of my teens, maybe more than at any other stage, because the conversations were so rich. Oh my goodness. I mean, we would be sitting around talking about the concept of just war. I mean, that's not a conversation you otherwise get to have unless you're really involved deeply in the lives of your teens. As I kind of alluded to earlier, it's not a time to be afraid of their education. It's actually the culminating point at which their maturity is at the highest level, as is their growing awareness of the unique calling on their life, and where they're really practicing to either be the man or the woman that God created them to be. So it is an extremely essential time. Don't be intimidated. The richness of the literature for teens is stupendous. It's fabulous. You cannot believe what's available to you. For example, if you were going to be learning about the first mystery colony of in the United States, it didn't survive, and people still don't even know today what happened to the residents thereof. Here's a novel set during that. This is not Roanoke, Virginia. This is the earlier colony of Roanoke on the eastern seaboard. So you can get right inside that whole event. Say that you're learning about Mesopotamia. Again, I only ever had it in a Western Civ textbook, but here's a whole book, The Land of the Two Rivers. And this was written by a man who is very expert on archaeology and ancient history and was also an extremely good writer. That's how he got published. I don't know how good of a writer one has to be to write a textbook, but to get a book published and out on the market onto a bookstore shelves, you have to be a good writer. So think of it this way. They've already filtered out all the boring writers, and you only get the best of the best. When you read through a book like this, your knowledge of ancient Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent, is going to far exceed anything that at least I ever had in school. Here's another example. My son loved this book, The Battle of Lepanto. I bet you there's very few people watching that have ever even heard of this battle. I never had until I found this book. Turned out to be an extremely important naval battle that protected Europe from invasion by the Islamic forces at the time. And this man was a specialist in maritime naval battle books. My son read everything he could get his hands on by him. So you can imagine how deep he understood all the forces that were going on at that time and how much he still to this day remembers these events. So it's not only the depth, but it's also the breadth of topic that is covered. I challenge the kids sometimes to come up with a topic that they think we're not going to be able to find a book for. I know one day one of the Precious boys came in and said, string. I bet you don't have a book about string. Wrong. We did have a book about string. So if you thought you were going to say Battle of Lepanto and stump us, nope. There was a great, great, great book written about that battle. Here's another book that my sons have really enjoyed, The Glorious Conspiracy. This is talking about the time in the early nation, the early federal period in American history, and when the Industrial Revolution is getting underway, the conflicts going on between Burr and Hamilton. And so all of those things that, again, you might have just had in some history textbook are all vividly lived through the eyes of a teen at the time. Here's another example right here. This is set during the Cold War, and a teen is living through all the struggles of the Berlin Wall and the whole partitioning that went on after World War II and being captured in the communist snare. So it's one thing to know that the Cold War existed. It's another thing to live inside of it through the teen that's living through these powerful events, and it will give them a real taste and a desire for freedom, and they'll understand the tyranny of communism. These are extremely important outcomes that you want to have. If you're even studying about the ancient Inca, I mean, did you know that there would be a great book just written about an Incan prince? So imagine seeing the Inca society from the inside out through one of its royals, one of its teen royals. Can you imagine how much more your teen would engage in this? And I mentioned before this book about geometry. Before you do your geometry anywhere else, be sure to get a history of the people involved and why they even started geometry and what they were trying to capture. So whatever their topic is, there is going to be a living book either to set the stage or to be the entire what's the word I'm looking for? The delivery of all that great, fascinating goodness. They're all here for you to enjoy.